Hello, Skylar. Welcome to Virtual Visitation. How are things?
Pretty okay. Slow weekend.
So, I understand that you're now based back in Malaysia. Whereabouts would that be?
Yeah. I'm in the north in Penang, the best state, of course.
The best state that I was supposed to visit this year.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I would really be glad if you come over to visit when that happens eventually. Yeah, it's good food.
yeah. So that was the initial plan that I had before the whole COVID-19 took place. So the initial idea in terms of my travel plans was, thankfully, I was able to get to Melbourne for the weekend, and after that, I was gonna go to Indonesia for a music festival. And that was a national holiday the month after. I can't remember which one it was. It was probably Labor Day or something. And my sister and I were planning to go to Penang for a sibling trip, And I told her that you are based in Penang as well, and I wanted to stop by and say hello to you.
I haven't met your sister before, but I hear a lot of good things about her.
Such as,
I don't know. You always talk to her about her on Twitter. I'm like, oh, she's so funny. She's so cute.
she,
But yeah, but I remember back in the days, even when I used to base in Singapore, and you always talk about her. Yeah, but it's nice to see that sibling relationship and stuff.
it's kind of fascinating because we are only separated by 2 years, and obviously we grew up together, but our interests are not even remotely close. So on one hand, you've got me who's into the gothic, rock, metal, couple of pop culture stuff, and then you have my sister who's into EDM and partying.
Well, that happens. I mean, my sister is like active into sports, and then I'm just a lazy bum sitting at home playing video games, anyways. So yeah, one's an outdoor and one's an indoor. So.
Well, at least you do Twitch channels and streams, so that's a form of
Yeah,
activity.
barely. Yeah, barely. But yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like in this day and age, e-gaming is now considered a sport. So consider yourself an athlete now.
Yeah, brain sports, but I don't have that kind of brain sports. Yeah, I just do it casually for fun, but it's nice in the way where you can connect with people and things like that. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I do not exactly check into Twitch that much. I do have an account, but only because I've got a few friends who are on it. So guys in the metal scene, basically, Fias and Arif from Wormrod, and they do Twitch streams, and I do watch it like once in a while, and I get the appeal.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty fascinating to see, and it's nice to see them
I
being in
love
their
the
comfort
interaction.
zone.
Yeah,
And also at the same
the
time,
interaction is fun. Yeah.
yeah, and also at the same time, there are guys who do it as a form of content creation. So Subash and a few guys decided to start their own Facebook page called Chill Play Game, and what they do is
Mm-hmm.
that they get around and they play games and they film themselves reacting to the gameplay and such. And the selling point is that it is done within the local context. So you hear a lot of Singlish, a lot of expletives, and it's supposed to be like really light-hearted stuff. And it works because even for those who are casual gamers, when they watch those videos, they can relate to it because it it appeals to everyone.
Yeah. Yeah, you can relate to what they're doing because it's. I mean, you're in that same boat as well. In a way. Yeah.
But while we're on the subject on Singapore, this is the one thing that I never got to know, and is the story of how you arrived in Singapore. Like, what was the journey?
Uh, yeah, my sister was staying there at the time, and I think I was about 18 or 19 at the time. That was like more than 10 years ago. But yeah, I was 18, 19 at the time, and I went there because I wanted to study hairdressing. So I took up hairdressing in Singapore at the time, and then from then on, I just continued working there. So that's how, it journeys from there to meeting people like you. But yeah, because I was also looking for friends at the time, so I'm like, oh, okay, let's hang out with the music scene, and yeah, that really went off intense.
But as someone who's at that time pretty much a newcomer to the whole local music community, how do you get in touch or how do you get hold of information pertaining to events or gigs for that matter?
Oh my god, that was the time of MySpace, pretty much. Yeah, and yeah, it was a time of MySpace, and and MySpace was heavily into like the whole music bands, and then where bands have a lot of their profile accounts all over there, where you can listen to the music player as well, right? So for some reason, I don't remember how the hell it started, but I came across this Singaporean band called Firebrands. Not sure if you recall them, but yes, Firebrands. So, and from there, they were looking for like the street team to help them out with their album release at the time. And I was just thinking like, oh, okay, yeah, I have nothing to do other than going to school and come back home. So why don't I just join them and volunteer and do some stuff? And while at it, they also let us into their album release party and things like that. So from then on, I start knowing the music scene. So yeah, and from there, I just get connected with a lot of people from there. So it was fun. Yeah.
And then one thing led to another, I would say. And then the next thing you know, you got yourself involved with the Singapore Dark Alternative Movement or SDAM. And
Yeah.
how did that path came about?
Good question. I don't really remember how that happened, really. Yeah, I don't know who was the person who dragged me into there. I'm not sure if it was because of oh man, I really cannot remember who was that first person who did that. Uh, but it must be someone I knew, one of the bands that I found out, and from then on I thought, wow, okay, I think it was like Dark Friday or even before that. Um, they have, oh, I think it's because they have, was it that place called DXO in Esplanade?
It
Back
might have been,
then
yeah.
there was, yeah. So that was the place where Firebrands performed in frequently, and then I found out probably because of that there is this gothic event happening in DXO as well. So from then on, I thought, what the heck? You have a goth community in Singapore, so I'm totally in. So from then on, I guess because it's also a very small community, right? So you get to know people a lot easier, and yeah, from then on, I just get that's it.
I would say my involvement was based on pure coincidence as well, because I think back then, I think it was 2009, fresh off national service. And
Yeah.
I was trying to find my footing as an adult. And I think back then, I cannot exactly recall what were the websites that led me to it, but I believe it was a event that they did at Skate where they had a booth. And I just popped by and I introduced myself and had a couple of words. I think Saito was there, and the next thing you know, they told me
Mm-hmm.
that they have events, monthly events. I think by then, I think Dark Friday was phased out, so I missed out the good stuff like when Angel Spit came to Singapore or Covenant or the Haiti Days, as they call it. But instead, in its place, they were doing events at venues such as, let me see, there was one at Nova that was opposite Clark Key.
Nova. I don't think I've been there before.
I think it was at level 5, Safra.
Nope. Nope.
And
I don't think I've been there.
I think you might recall the other one. There was one at Boat Key. I think it was Hyde Bar. Yeah, Hyde Bar on level 3.
Yes, that one I've been to before. Yes. Yeah. That was a lot later on, I think.
Yeah, I think it was a lot later. And there was even 7-inch for a while. And it was basically just
Yeah.
us place hopping most of the time because there wasn't a concrete venue to host these parties. And by then, we renamed it as Heart of Darkness.
Mhm. I remember that. Yep.
And that was
Hyde
when,
was the one that we did.
I'm sorry?
Remember? The Hyde event was the one we did together.
Yes.
Sorry, not Hyde. 7-inch. 7-inch is the one we did together. The one at Straits Key. No, not Straits. What's Boat Key or the other one?
Clark Key.
Kaki. That's right. Straits Key is in Penang. Sorry about that.
It's all right. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. I would say the event for 7-inch was for the Sophie Lancaster event,
Charity.
the charity event.
That's right.
Whereas
Mhm.
the event at Hyde was for World Golf Day.
Yes, I forgot we did that one too.
You did?
Yeah, I like that one. I like that one a lot. That one was really fun with the drinks that we made specially for the event. That was fun. We got Phil as well.
Do you recall what was the drink?
I remember there's one with fire in it, but I forgot the name. I do remember there's one called Von Grave.
Yes, that was
Yeah,
one of those.
so
And
that was Phillips.
those Phillips. And I
Yeah.
think the other drink was, I cannot remember the alcohol base, to be honest, but I could tell you what the soft drink was. It was Sinalco.
Man, I can't recall that much, but yeah, aesthetic wise, it was amazing.
I remember this because when we were at the bar on one of the weekdays to discuss like the plans for World Golf Day, we were trying to figure out like what special drinks that we could make and stuff. And I'm no bartender or mixologist, so I wouldn't know what really works. And we were just trying about like, oh yeah, let's maybe try this drink. No, let's try this drink. And someone said, yeah, let's try Sinalco. And we were like, does that drink even exist anymore?
Yeah.
Surprisingly, we were able to get like a couple of bottles for that.
Mhm.
But yeah, since you did touch
Yeah.
on the fact that we did like a couple of events together, I would say
Mm.
I think it was only then when like both you and I we corresponded with each other more frequently because prior to that, when Saito was in charge of the whole thing, it was basically his show, and at that time I was just helping him out. But I'll be honest with you, like the key difference between being under him and working alongside yourself and Philip was the fact that with him, it feels more like a corporate setting in the sense that there are targets to meet and there are expectations and such. And in all honesty, and this is no evil whatsoever, it felt as though I was doing an internship.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's going to be that kind of feeling because he's been with the alternative movement for such a long time. He's been manning the place for so long, so you gotta look up to him, like, he's the leader and you gotta like, okay, yes sir, yes sir. But when the grown-ups aren't here, that's when all hell breaks loose.
But to be fair, I learned quite a lot of things under him. I would say that if it
Hmm.
wasn't for him, I wouldn't have any knowledge on how to go about, doing marketing, for example, or even doing public relations or promoting myself. And as much as I do not like the idea of being an extrovert and just throwing myself around for attention, I managed to find a
Yeah.
way to just circumvent it, and I managed to find that balance. But I think it's through him that I learned all these fundamentals. So to be honest, if it weren't for Saito, I wouldn't have that kind of knowledge that would still be applicable today. I mean, 10 years has passed, and I think a lot has changed since then, how the medium of social media works and everything.
Yeah.
But but the nucleus of it is still the same, you know. It still involves talking to people, having to correspond with strangers that you have never met before, and being prepared to answer questions on the fly.
I get it. Yeah, definitely true. He did give me a lot of introduction into how to, put things out there and make sure that things don't die out and things like that. Yeah, I mean, I understand that. Yeah, but oh man, it is really a lot of work. It is definitely not easy for sure. Yeah.
And I think we learned that the hard way when we were the ones handling it.
Yeah, and there was like three of us. I mean, when he started off, there was only him alone. But even if, when there's three of us, we were like, oh, how do we do this? Oh yeah, we're just kids.
Yeah, and can you imagine? Yeah, like we were still young back then. We were not even 25 at all. Like we were just
Yeah,
21-ish, and we had zero or little
around
knowledge
that.
on how to do this.
Yeah, yeah,
And every single event was like it felt like a Netflix episode where we just tried to bend around and just figure out solutions to things.
yeah, exactly. It's just really hard when, you have to get help from an actual business and we don't know the business side of things. I mean, of course, we don't have to make things into a business, but I mean, when you're doing things under a business, you gotta be, there's something involved in it. And yeah, so we have to learn the adult way to do it. That doesn't sound right, but yeah, never mind.
To paraphrase, we had to grow up pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's right. Which I have a lot of respect for how, how those punk venues they can achieve so much sometimes without any external help. All you need to do is have a place and they can just do whatever they want. I have so much respect for that, but I still don't know how it works sometimes. They really could do it.
So based on my observation, I would say some of the key factors that enable them to sustain and even allow them to continue having such events is the fact that they have a very strong community spirit. Everyone kind of knows each other, and it really helps if you're very street smart and being
Mhm.
aware of potential repercussions and being resourceful as well, because as you know, like, you know, not all venues will be able to sustain for long, and places get shut down or they get relocated. And if you're overly reliant on just one place, or you are just so set in your ways, then you are just doomed to fail. And I think that's how the punk community, for example, is able to survive, because they're equivalent of a nomad, where they just move around pretty quickly. They do not stay at one place for
Yeah,
too long, but they still have the support of their community behind them, which allows them to continue growing.
yeah. They
Although I'm,
definitely have my
yeah,
respect.
totally. I think if the punks were to hear this, they might shed a tear right now.
Oh,
That's so touching. I didn't know we were resourceful, but yeah, thanks, dudes.
yeah, they can really help a lot in their community no matter what. But like us, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if I it's not nice to say it, but the goth community sometimes it's just really hard to keep it going because I'm trying to keep one going in my state as well. It's kind of dying out. Yeah.
So I had this discussion with Steph the other day about the longevity of such communities, and we both agreed that a part of the reason why the Gothic community, for example, was living on a limited shelf life is because for a subculture that big, we are pretty divisive about what is being represented and who should represent what. And we talk about the Gothic community, people will have some disagreements as to what the Gothic's all about, because everybody has their varying opinions. And also, that being said, when you take a pie that's small as it is and you try to divide it into smaller pieces, then you only get a fraction of people turning out. And again, I think it goes back to the business perspective, where if they look at small attendances, they will not be convinced in continuing such events because they think about their patrons. And this is something that I learned from the rock and metal community through the promoters, that they look at the numbers and they look at sales and they look at all of this monetary terms that needs to be converted. So for example, like if you want to host a Gothic event, the people that you bring in, they are going to be the people that's going to generate their money for the night, because they are going to be the patrons as opposed to their regular customers. And if these people come in and they're not buying drinks, then they're losing out.
Yeah. Yep. That was how it was about back then, as far as I can remember.
Yeah, it's always been an uphill battle for us, to say the least. Not just in getting the attendances, because we already knew that not many people were going to turn up. I think the initial idea was to try to do it weekly, and obviously we identified that and we said that's not going to happen because no one's going to turn up weekly, and even so, it's not going to be a lot of people. And I think then on we kind of modified things a little bit, in the sense that we didn't even do it monthly. We made it I think we made it like quarterly, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Eventually, I think that's what we did, if I'm not mistaken. So we just have to try to make it work, but if it doesn't work, then we'll just push it a little further or something. Yeah. Yep. Oh, I think it was because of we just did it during when there's like a calendar event or something, like World Golf Day or something like that. I think that was what we did. Yeah.
I would say on hindsight that was a smart move, because if you were to space them out throughout the calendar year, it gives people something to look forward to. So imagine if you
Yeah.
have an event like once every 4 months, people will be anticipating towards that event. And if you do it in conjunction to a global phenomenon such as World Golf Day, for example, people can relate to it. So for example, like if you are a casual observer or you are new to Singapore as an expatriate and you're into the whole Gothic community, and you start looking around and you're like, okay, I want to see if there are any bars open for World Golf Day. Maybe I could check something out. And it just so happens that we're promoting something along those lines. And the best part is, like, when we do it, we do not do it to capitalize on trying to make money out of it, but we do it so that we can get like-minded people to converge together and have fun. And honestly, I think the three of us did meet that objective.
Yeah, I think we do quite okay. If I would say that the main events that we did for those years were rather good. I mean, I'm proud of those, but not. I can't remember the smaller ones if we ever did the smaller ones. But yeah, the one we did for the charity gig and the one we did in Hyde Bar, I think those were satisfactory. Yeah.
I would say so as well. I mean, to be fair, like, we were not expecting like hundreds of people to turn up, because that's virtually impossible. But within our means, we were able to get to our target audience and have fun at the same time, man. And I'm glad to say, like, every single time when we had event, we are all having fun and we're not being static or being
Yeah.
all.
But that being said, I think my expectations are pretty low when it comes to attendance because, I mean, we live an alternative life. We are not living in the mainstream life. So everything I do sometimes like, oh, nobody comes? Well, yeah, duh. I mean, nobody likes the thing I like, so of course it's gonna be low crowd. I don't know, that's just me.
I share your sentiments in this. That is why I'm
Yeah.
generally surprised when people turn up, because because you're not having like high expectations in the first place. And I think that's the key difference between like the older guys running it and us running it, where we realized that it was gonna hit, it's already hit its plateau, and all we could do is just maintain it as it is, because if we were to aggressively push something that might just backfire on us, I think it would be way worse if we were to have lofty ambitions and none of which materializes. I think that would have really been a sour taste on our tongues.
Yeah.
But yeah, but also like you mentioned about having a dark alternative movement in Malaysia as well. How's that going so far?
Yeah. Oh, wow. So I think we had one event, but that was like 5 years ago. We did that during Halloween. That was like no one came. It was just the people I know that were there. So, and we did it for Halloween, as bad as it sounds. I mean, we're not really a Halloween thing, but we did it just because we thought, oh, okay, this might probably be because Halloween, so people would maybe come and celebrate it as just Halloween. But yeah, there was like pretty much no attendance, and the the venue that we went to, they kind of leave the place open for their customers as well, and those people weren't very happy with what we did to the place because we pretty much yeah, give it a little bit of a design change to the place, and obviously the music is what matters, right? So when we have an event, of course the music is going to follow the gothic genre, and because the venue opened place for their own customers, they weren't happy with the music that we put on as well. So yeah, I guess you could safely say that we're still not mainstream.
Would you say that it is partly because of the fact that in Malaysia it's gonna be harder to promote counterculture in general?
I think that um, we were probably going in the wrong audience as well. Um, I did discuss with my partners at the time, and then um, okay, they kind of wanted to use that venue because that was like one of the more popular cafes. But I told them like, okay, if you wanted that place, but that's the problem because if you choose the more popular places, well, we're not popular. So I think that's was a bad idea because we went to the wrong type of venue where the audience will not appreciate what we do. So I think if we move to somewhere maybe more in the aspected area, it's possible that we might be able to catch some audience, even if they did not know it personally that it's going to be an event over there. So yeah, I guess you could say that locally, not a lot of people are still okay with the culture, mainly because we live in Penang, which is not so much of a city state compared to KL. But I know that there's quite a lot of people in KL that's very into the Gothic culture. Yeah, it's a larger music community there.
I think it's the advantage of being in the capital city because it's more metropolitan and you get a wide range of people living there as well, as opposed to a smaller
Yeah,
state. I think it happens with a lot of countries as well, where it's very hard for you to establish something that is niche because not every, I think almost everyone is not really into that, and it's always going to be a tough fight as well. But credit where it's due, at least you gave it a shot and you tried to do something, even though the the results were not what you expected it to be, or maybe it was something that you
yeah,
kind of foresee it, but it happened anyway.
yeah. I kind of foresee it, but then I'm just like, screw that. I don't know. I like to do things where I just do it, even if there's no audience. Pretty much like my Twitch streams. I have no audience, but I just do it whenever I like.
pretty much like my Facebook page where I just post stuff and be surprised if actually someone watches it.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. Like, I would say, like, the reason why we do these things is not because we want instantaneous fame or we want to be popular. Like, the reason why we do these things is because we are passionate about what we are into. And this is not something that we just discovered like overnight. It's not like, for example, I don't know, like you watch something on TV and then you proclaim to be like the biggest fan of said TV series like the next day. But this is more towards the fact that there's something that's deep in that's close to our hearts like over the years, and we are very aware that it's not going to be popular. Not everyone's going to get it, but the most important is that deep down we like what we're doing and it makes us happy. And I think that's the same reaction for you as well. Like when you have your Twitch streams where you're just gaming, and if someone does watch it and say something, it kind of makes you happy because there's always that silver lining. And even if it's just a hi or a, I don't know, some positive messages, I think it suffices.
Yeah, I think for me, I like to build a community. So even though majority of the time there isn't much going on, but I would like that maybe like you say, like maybe sometimes someone will visit or things like that, and I like to have that kind of interaction with people to build a community, just to let them know that, oh yeah, I mean, there are people like us out there as well. So it's to show them that, yeah, don't worry about it, there's, join the losers club, we don't have to be embarrassed by all the things that people say to us. So yeah, that's what I like to do, to make a community.
And that's a very lovely outlet, I must say, because when you adopt that kind of mentality, you actually feel
Yeah.
at ease because you're not answering to anyone. And when people do rope in or they indicate interest, is because they're genuine about it. And I think that's how friendships are developed at the same time, be it in a metal show or a gothic event or even an art exhibition, oddly enough. Like you just come across somebody and you strike out a conversation with them. And there's a reason why they're there, because they share similar interests with you, be it in real life or virtually. But unfortunately, the virtual realm would be the only way I'll get in touch with you at this moment because of the whole COVID-19 situation. And it's kind of frustrating, to be honest, because the last time I saw you was 2 years ago in Melbourne.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep. Melbourne. Yeah, that was a treat. That was nice. I mean, I haven't seen anybody from Singapore for a while. I think majority of people, I haven't seen them for 10 years. Jesus.
That's
They're
pretty long.
old.
I know.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day.
Yeah. Yep.
Like, for example, when
I
I
waste
was,
no time telling people that. I tell everyone my age. I'm like, yeah, I'm 33, and people are like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm old.
I'm 33 and I'm
I'm
rocking
middle
it.
age. Yeah, I don't care. I mean, I don't get why people are like, oh, you don't ask people your age, and I was like, wait, how are you? If you want to say it, and yeah, a majority of people I know just hide it, and they're all younger than me. I'm like, what the heck's going on with you guys? I'm freaking 33, and I don't care. I'm gonna tell everybody. Anybody asks, I just say it. I'm 33. Yeah.
Exactly. Because you're rocking it, man. Like, I'm the same age as you as well. And people ask me,
Yep.
like, like typical Asian questions where they're like asking, oh, why are you not married? Oh, why did you have this? Why are you not doing that and stuff? And truth be told, I've seen people in my family who do all of these things, but I look into their eyes and I don't see any happiness.
I can confirm that. That's the same with my side too. So I could tell you, even my mom's like, it's okay, don't get married. So I'm like, oh mom, I love you so much because she care, she understands. She's like, it's fine, don't get married. Nobody cares. So I'm like, oh good. But yeah, I've got a lot of friends who have that issue, and then they're like younger than me, but they're getting pushed because the Asian thing. But yeah, my mom don't give a shit. I think my dad wants me to get married though, but who cares?
There has to be that one parent, huh?
Mm, my mom understands what a bad marriage is. But yeah, man, just be happy. Otherwise, whatever you want, married or no married, who cares? Yeah.
I, I totally agree with you on this. I mean, not that I have that kind of luck in the sense that I'll be able to get married anytime soon or anything, but what I noticed over the years is that, and this is something that it's actually it's close to home as well, because for example, like when I look through like some of the old videos that I've uploaded and I see some of these bands performing, and I ask myself like, whatever happened to these guys? Like they were so promising back then, and they had so much drive, so much energy, and they were on an upward trajectory. And then I asked around like, hey, do you remember what happened to this band, or remember what happened to this guy? And it's always the same old story where they say that, they gave up halfway, they decided to focus on a career, they decided to settle down and have kids and everything. And these are guys who are like younger than me. And
Mm,
then yet when I bump into them the next time when they actually go to a show, you could look at that feeling of resignation, and they feel so despondent. Like they do not mind going to a show, but deep down they're just like struggling, where they're like, oh, I you could tell that they just want to be on stage someday, but they're
mm-hmm.
unable to do so
They missed
because
it.
of priorities and responsibilities.
Yeah. I don't want that kind of responsibility. No. I guess some people would say that, oh, you're just so selfish because you, yeah, don't want to. But, I feel like we don't need to have that kind of responsibility because the world has a lot of human population. It's fine. We're okay. Yeah.
Yeah, there's too many of that going around. I think we're good.
Yeah.
Someone else is doing the
Totally.
job for us.
Yeah, that's fine.
But in truth, like, this is like one of the reasons why I respect you as an individual as well, because you speak your mind and you're pretty proud of the fact that you're an individual and you really own it. And this kind of rubs off on me as well, because in some ways I do feel inspired by you, in the sense that you just go your own way, and you do it pretty well as well. And in some sense, like that's why, like over the years, like whenever you do something, I was like, damn man, Skylar's like pretty cool doing this.
I did nothing. I didn't do anything much, but okay.
No, but I would say like in a sense that you just do things your own way without taking orders from other people, or compromising just because somebody says, oh, you should not do that, or you should do this. You pretty much give them a finger and just do the opposite, or even better, you one up them. And I think that's really admirable, coming from a friend to another friend saying this.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I think it's very important where you stay true to yourself. But also, whatever you do, even if you're rebelling, just make sure that no one gets harmed. That's all. So that's basically the thing. Don't harm anybody and don't break any rules, I guess. Yeah. Don't do anything illegal. So yeah, you can totally have fun. Just don't do anything illegal and things like that, and don't listen to whatever people say.
And eat your
And you know
vegetables.
what I like about you? You're not creepy. That I really appreciated. I've met so many people in the music scene, and I'm sure you've met these people as well during the times in Singapore. And and I always like you because you never treat me differently like I was female just because of that. And that's why I agreed to talk to you as well, because I appreciated what you did before, and that you were really nice and a true friend compared to a lot of people. I think it doesn't matter where we are sometimes, but because that's how the culture has built us, I guess. So yeah, some people do tend to be a bit more creepier than the other, which is like, oh, yeah,
I'm kind of lost for words, but thank you. Thank you for saying that.
no problem.
Well, I'm really touched that you said that because to me, when I first got into the whole subculture, I'm aware there are people who use positions of power to take advantage of others and such. And right from the start, I said, that's not what I want to do because I feel so uncomfortable. And imagine being like the social outcast for most of your life or being like rejected by most cliques. And then now you find your own comfort zone. The last thing you want is to shit on it by acting stupidly. And I
Hmm.
understand sometimes, yes, there are occasions where you will get romantically involved with someone, but the key factor to all of this is consent and mutual respect.
Hmm.
And likewise, even
Yeah,
if you do not have,
and no manipulation. Sorry,
and that as well,
to not manipulate people, because I've seen a lot of that happening sometimes.
and it's still taking place, and it's just a matter of whether the individual gets caught, you know.
Yeah.
And truth be told, I noticed this not just in our local communities, for example, but even the global ones that I'm in. And there have been certain situations where someone's just making use of one another, or someone is exploiting his or her position to get away with crime, actual crime I'm talking about here. And
Oh
yet,
wow.
because of being that call a personality, they have followers who readily back them up only because they fear rejection if the person says, "Oh, I think you're lying," and everyone else just follows like sheep.
Oh man, disgusting.
It's sad. I know it's really sad, and you would think that people should really stop doing such heinous acts, but unfortunately, not everyone is like us, where we are very sensible human beings and practice compassion and empathy as much as possible. But I would say, like at the end of the day, these are also like the things that I'm being exposed to and I'm aware of. And if even if someone that I consider as a friend, if he or she were to do that, I'll call them out and I'll cut their friendship right away because I do not want to be associated with such people.
That's good. I respect that.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if that person is popular or famous or has money. To me, that's inconsequential. Like all these things are just immaterial to me. Like in my heart, like I always like to believe that my friends are good people, and even if they may be a little rough around the edges, deep down they are people that I can trust on when something happens to me, and vice versa. And I think this is the thing that I really want to encourage with whatever community that I'm in, be it now or in the next 10 or 15 years, because we need more positivity in this current landscape where every single time when you go onto social media, it's plagued with so much negativity and division and arguments. And it's kind of ugly when you see like friends like turning against each other just because of one slight deviation of what they stand for.
Yeah. Exactly. The last thing I want is to see, such a great community that we're in be like everyone else in the world. We don't need that kind of shit. Just let the mainstream fight. between themselves. Let them bitch between themselves. We shouldn't be doing such things. Is that a good example?
And I would say instead of trying to get into that kind of argument with just a ballpoint pen, we should just stay away from it altogether and maybe focus on doing good things instead. We talked about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, which we did a charity show for. And I'll say over the years, there have been instances in which the Gothic or even like the rock and metal community have done charity drives to support the underprivileged and those at risk. And these are like the kind of things that I love seeing, because it's very heartening to know that the community or the communities that I'm in are doing a good cause and giving it back to the society, as opposed to being reliant on government aids or media exposure. Like, we do these things just out of the goodness of our hearts. And for me, like, I want this to be an ongoing thing, like not just with us, but it should go on with the next generation, and it should be a it should be something that we should also stand for as well. Like we talk about inclusiveness as well, like in the rock and metal community or even punk, where everyone is accepted, everyone is welcome, regardless of racial backgrounds, nationalities, or gender. And for you, like, is this something that you also practice on a constant basis, be it in a community or as an individual?
Yes, I feel that this, like, these are all my people. To me, I feel like in our community, we should back our people up. And as long as they're into, the same kind of music, okay, not necessarily the same kind of music, but what I meant is, like, if they're just into the fun, so why do we need to exclude them just because they look different, or maybe they come from different backgrounds? We're all the same. Anyways, we live in a country where we have so many mixed cultures, so there's no reason why we should just exclude this kind of thing. We're all the same. Actually, we're all the same. Racist? No, we're just one species.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even notice this kind of things anymore. To me, for example, like if you go to a show, dude, you can turn up in a Barney the dinosaur costume and I won't even judge you, because we're all here to have fun. And I think that's the entire premise of being in a subculture or a community, and it's the fact that everyone is bonded by the shared love of the music that they listen to or the platforms that they are engaged in, and not because of what backgrounds that they come from. And I think this is the one of the few things that I really hope that any community by and large should just work towards, and just showcase love for their fellow human, and also pets and animals, because they count too.
Yes, especially when they couldn't speak for themselves, so we should totally give them more help.
I totally agree with you. And finally, there's one thing that we got to talk about, and it is our shared love for AFI.
Oh man. Whew.
I saved the best for the last.
Did you wait? You didn't come when they were in Australia. I was so disappointed.
I'm sorry.
I saved you a spot.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that. I'm not rubbing it in your face, but remember I told you there was a meet and greet? I was really hoping that you would come. I was like, dude, I got an extra spot. I got a +1. It should be you, but you couldn't make it. Oh man, I was so disappointed.
I was just as gutted, man, because I would have gone for it, but because of work, I was not able to make the trip. So to this day, this is one of my few regrets in life. Just so you know. Even though I got to watch them, even though I got to watch them in the United States, it does not count because they were not even the headliners.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They did put on a good show when I was there. I was kind of unsure because I've never seen them before that. I mean, that was like, man, it's like 10 years. It took me like freaking 10 years to get to see them. And then when I finally see them, I thought, oh, well, okay, 10 years, they're not really that MTV anymore. So I never know if they're still okay live. But they really did really good. That was a very good show. They have a really good comeback. They're still great. Yeah, it was a very good show.
I totally agree with you. Like I watched them in 2018, and I was very nervous because all I asked for is that they do not suck. That's the least
Yeah,
I could ask for, because can you imagine like this
yeah,
is a band that you listen to since your teenage years and you grew up worshiping. Like for me at least, I grew up worshiping David Havoc and I was wanted to be like him, like the whole long hair and like makeup and nail polish. He's also the reason why I wore nail polish in the first place. So yeah, I think my mom wasn't too happy about that, but I mean he's cool.
Well, I don't think my parents were initially very happy with me getting smoky eye makeup too. I mean, back in the days, goth was not very big. It's just that nowadays people have adopted the black clothing and black makeup. But I think 10 years ago, even in my teenage years, yeah, nobody's, I mean, even as a girl, nope, everyone's weirded out by the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah,
that.
Davey.
Yeah, I think as teenagers, like when we were dressed up, like what people would term it as normal now. Back then, wearing
Yeah.
like dark makeup and just wearing black, apparently that meant you are a weirdo,
Yeah.
or you're
Mm.
yeah, they would say that you're emo, but you know for a fact that you're not emo because emos are a different entity altogether.
Yeah.
And it didn't help that My Chemical Romance was coming to prominence during that point of time, so there was that confusion.
Yeah. The scene kid era. Yep.
I might have dabbled in that at some point as well.
We have our days, those were the days.
The MySpace days.
But yeah. Yeah, the MySpace. Oh god. I miss it. Honestly, if you ask me, I miss MySpace. I don't even care shit about Facebook anymore. Oh, I got into Facebook because of AFI. They were the reasons why I have a Facebook account. Because do you know back in the days, Facebook wasn't open worldwide. It was only open for American college.
Yeah.
That's how it started, right? I mean, I'm sure the Facebook movie that we saw was like that. So, anyways, because AFI was very into the whole uh like album release promo thing back in the days, and there's a lot of voting and things like that. And I think something happened with the Facebook, and they told us to vote something, so I had to get an account to do that. Yeah, I was very deep obsessed with AFI back in the days. Whatever they asked me to do, I'll do it. Everything, anything for you, AFI, I'll do it. And that's how I got a Facebook account until today. Jeez. But MySpace is still cooler.
I agree with you.
That's the music thing. Yeah.
But also at the same time, how do you first discover AFI? And this is something that I really need to know because it's definitely not the same way as I did, but over to you.
I used to check the Billboard Modern Rock top 10 list. I think it was a weekly thing that is it rotates on a weekly basis. So I would always check the Billboard Modern Rock list and like, oh, what's this new band? Because I mean, back in the days, there's no Spotify, right? Nowadays, Spotify is how I discover new music. It's just stuff that sounds similar to you, and that's how you discover new music. But back then, it was that. That was one of the places where I discovered. It was during their Sing the Sorrow album. So I think one of their songs was in the top 10. So that's how I discovered them. So every time they have something new, I will check it out. And oh, I think it was because I had MTV as well, and they had like a show where all the pop Billboard lists or something, they would play their music videos. So that was when I first saw Girls Not Grey. That was the one. And yeah, that was interesting. And
That's it.
from then,
Mhm.
I bought the CD. I wanted to listen to the whole thing. Yeah,
So you bought Sing the Sorrow, I'm guessing.
yeah. Sing the Sorrow was the first one. Yeah,
And you know what's the amazing
that's when I
fact?
discovered.
I bought the same album as well. That was my first AFI album.
Wow.
And it was the
Yep.
same and it was the same song as well.
Oh God. Yeah, that was when they first got big, I think. And after Girls Not Grey, it was the Leaving Song Part 2. Oh my God. That's the best music video, best song. Yep. I think until today, that's still one of my favorites. It's so cool. It's just so cool.
You know what? After this conversation ends, I need to listen to the entire album right now. I'm getting
Yeah.
withdrawal symptoms as we speak, man.
It is great. Yeah.
But
And
was
yeah,
the Living Song Part 2 the favorite song in the album, or was it another song?
one of my favorite for sure, but there's so many. I love The Great Disappointment as well. That's also one of my favorite. Girl Stalker is okay, but it's a little slightly too pop, so I'm not really that into it. But yeah, I really like The Great Disappointment. I really like The Living Song Part 2. The Living Song Part 1's good too. I like everything really.
I love the
Can't
album.
really say the favorite. Yeah, that's really good. That was something new at the time. It was very different. Yeah.
And when I bought the album, I remember like playing it over and over again on my Discman because I was so obsessed with it. Because can you imagine, like at a point in time when you were listening to bands like Blink 182 and Sum 41 and those pop punk bands, you're like, oh yeah, it's catchy and stuff, and then you discover AFI and just like, okay, you know what? Screw the rest of those bands. I'm listening
Yeah.
to this.
And the lyrics. The lyrics is poetry. That was the reason why that I got so hooked with AFI because yeah, you get the CD and then you look at the lyrics on the inside and you read them like, dude, this is poetry. What is this? Oh, it's so dark, it's so deep and everything. Yeah, that was why I just got caught in the whole AFI thing. It's very different from the stuff that I listened before. Yep.
And for the record, my favorite song in that album is Death of Seasons because it was a huge departure from the rest of the tracks. And when you listen to
Yes,
the
that one's good too.
screams, you listen to the screams,
Yep.
you felt that.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Definitely.
I need to listen to the album again.
Down memory lane.
You know, when I said we're gonna take a stroll down memory lane, I wasn't expecting this particular path, but here we are.
Oh, so old. Oh my god, my teenage years.
Oh, dude. Anyway,
Ah,
anyways, I'm gonna conclude the chat right now. Thank you so much for appearing
thank
today,
you.
and I really appreciate the things that you've done over the years and being an amazing friend above all else.
Thank you.
And I want you to know that.
Well, I want you to know thanks for not being creepy all those years as well. You're the greatest. Really, honestly. No joke. But yeah, thanks for having me. It was fun.
No worries, man. I'll see you soon once all this is done and dusted.
Yeah. Catch up soon.
Yep.
All right.
Right, Skylar. See you soon. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.